Tensions are escalating in the Middle East or West Asia as an emergency summit of Arab and Muslim nations has condemned Israel's airstrike on the Qatari capital in Doha. Yet again, Israel is going ahead with its campaign to take over Gaza City. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio has met with Qatar's Al Thani after his Israel visit. Take a look at these details.
In a historic meeting, nearly 60 member states of the Arab League and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation gathered in Doha. Leaders sent a strong message denouncing Israel's actions and standing in solidarity with Qatar. The meeting in Doha brought together leaders from Qatar, GCC, Arab League, and OIC. The Gulf Cooperation Council is taking immediate action. Military consultations are already underway to bolster the region's defense capabilities. The stakes are high. The GCC's Unified Military Command is set to meet soon in Doha, where the next steps will be determined in the face of mounting threats.
We also expect our strategic partners in the United States to use their influence on Israel in order for it to stop this behavior. We really do expect that. They have leverage and influence on Israel, and it's about time that this leverage and influence to be used.
While Israel is in no mood to stop, its military forces have yet again intensified their ground offensive in Gaza City. Despite the growing international outcry, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has made it clear Israel will not back down. Meanwhile, in Jerusalem, US Secretary of State Marco Rubio expressed unwavering support for Israel's mission to eradicate Hamas, a sharp contrast to Qatari efforts which are working towards ceasefire negotiations. And he avoided to use the word sovereignty in context of Qatar in front of Netanyahu. Qatar, home to the largest US airbase in the region, plays a pivotal role in these developments. With US officials reaffirming support for the Gulf state sovereignty, Qatar's influence is crucial in shaping the course of this conflict. As reports surface that Hamas may be using hostages as human shields, the world watches closely, hoping for a breakthrough but fearing further escalation. The world is at a critical crossroad. The fate of the region now rests on these critical consultations. The message is clear. The security of the Gulf will not be compromised, and those who threaten it will face an iron resolve. Will peace prevail, or will this conflict spiral further out of control?
Now, a United Nations Commission of Inquiry has concluded its probe on Tuesday on Israel's actions in Gaza, blaming Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and other top officials for incitement. The UN report cites examples of the scale of the killings, aid blockages, forced displacement and destruction of a fertility clinic to back up its genocide finding, adding its voice to rights groups and others who have reached the same conclusion. But Israel immediately said it categorically rejects the report, with the Foreign Ministry describing it as a distorted and false and calling for the immediate abolition of this Commission of Inquiry. Israeli ambassador to the UN in Geneva has called the report scandalous and fake, saying it had been authored by Hamas proxies.
Israel categorically rejects the libelous rant published today by this Commission of Inquiry. It spreads the malicious genocide narrative. The report diverges from the mandate of the Commission, yet again stressing their biased analysis. It has systematically dismissed Hamas's atrocities. Throughout the 72 pages of this paper that the COI presented, the COI promotes a narrative serving Hamas and its supporters in attempting to delegitimize and demonize the State of Israel.
So it's a big indictment for Israel, but it has not accepted it at all. In fact, it's pressing on with its ground offensive in Gaza City, reaching the center of Gaza City as well. That's the latest update. Let's talk more about these developments in West Asia. We have Dr. Raj Janged with us. He's a West Asian expert from the Opal Jindal Global University. Good afternoon to you, Professor. What do you make of these circumstances? It's quite strange that on one hand you have a so-called talk of peace process that the US keeps talking about, saying that there's still a sliver of a window of opportunity, but at the same time You have Israel, which is completely undaunted by any sort of finding against it or any sort of comment against it, condemnation coming in from the Arab and Islamic countries as well of what happened in Doha, but nothing is really changing on the ground, and it does seem that peace has no chance there.
It is indeed a very sad case that peace seems as far as one could really think of. Netanyahu and Israel's attack on Qatar is very paradoxical. Just to share this inside Israeli story, Netanyahu for last 7-8 years allowed Qatar to fund Hamas in Gaza. It was a policy where Qatar was given direct access to Hamas, and Netanyahu used Qatar. He did enjoy very warm relations backdoor with Qataris, and he thought Qatar money will create Hamas as a rival to Fatah, and it will keep the Palestinian national movement divided, which will benefit Israel's unilateralism. So he actually has very close encounters and engagement with Qatar. Then came a very famous scandal in Israeli politics in the last 2 years during the war called Qatar Gate. 2 of his topmost aides that he appointed in his own office are under trial and indicted for taking money for Qatar. So he is actually facing tremendous kind of domestic challenges for his dealings with Qatar. Now, I think it's very interesting that he wanted to attack Hamas leaders in Qatar when Mossad refused to carry that operation. He is still insisted because his, I think, very visible loss in Gaza is taking his popularity down. And in order to show that he is acting very strong and he is eradicating Hamas.
I'm sorry, could you elaborate on what exactly do you mean when you say visible loss in Gaza?
Visible loss meaning Israelis as well as the whole outside world is now fully aware that Hamas is not defeated and Israel is continuing with a very lost battle. It's a very disillusioned war. The chief of his staff that was appointed by Netanyahu himself has said this to the cabinet in the last 1 month 3 times, that military will not be able to defeat Hamas, that Israeli war cabinet should make a political decision for a hostage deal. In fact, there is a very famous picture of him shouting and punching a table in front of the Prime Minister saying, take the hostage deal because we can't defeat Hamas even if we take the whole of Gaza city. So he's exposed. In the domestic politics, he stands very exposed where the army is not with him anymore on Gaza. And his war in Gaza is taking the country nowhere. And his attempt to assassinate some people of Hamas in Qatar could have given him that public face saving. So it didn't happen for him. And that's why Donald Trump is also very unhappy with this attack on Qatar.
But we saw yesterday Marco Rubio standing right beside Benjamin Netanyahu saying that in a way parroting his own words that Hamas are they're barbarians and they have to be eliminated, that people in Gaza will keep suffering as long as Hamas is around.
Well, that's the classic double-speak diplomacy. So if Trump is saying that Qatar is the great ally of America and Israel should be very careful in its handling of relations with Qatar, he's drawing a very red line that Qatar should not be attacked like this. He did say that, yes, I allow and I do believe that Israel should fight Hamas wherever they can, which meant that Qatar should be left out. I think Trump doesn't want this war to spill over to the other players in the Gulf. And he is deeply worried what unilateral Netanyahu can be in the coming days.
So, do we see any sort of solution emerging at the moment, or will this conflict just keep dragging on? And where does that really leave the Gazans? Even in West Bank, you have settlers moving in very violent fashion almost every day.
Yes, solution for whom? I think you are right. Solution for the West Bank is also certainly not visible, because Israeli government allows the settlers to really conduct terrible violence every night almost now. Solution for the people of Gaza is really not any feasible, because Hamas doesn't care about what's going to happen to the people of Gaza now. Otherwise, Hamas would go for a deal. But Hamas is holding a very maximalist position in the bargain with Israel. Solution for the solution for the Israeli hostages is also extremely far. Just yesterday, hostage family members almost reached Jerusalem outside of his residence and manhandled him, meaning the tension and the very, very high violent protest on the street is an everyday reality in Israel. So the people of Israel are also in a complete shattered mode. So I think it's a complete, in a way, chaos for all stakeholders or all the parties involved. And I don't think there is any solution nearby. I mean, it is sad to say, but it is still a fact to say that the only person who can really change the course of events in the Middle East is, unfortunately, sits in Washington, Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And he seems to be fine with it right now.
Well, let's see what he has to say with this report, genocide report coming out. And what do the other Western allies say? They've already been saying that they will support giving some sort of an official recognition to the Palestinian state. Let's see in what more ways can further pressure be built upon, well, essentially Donald Trump himself, because Benjamin Netanyahu is, as long as Donald Trump supports him, is going to remain unstoppable, because that perpetuates his rule as far as Jerusalem is concerned. Thanks a lot for joining us for the moment, Professor.